now turn our attention to what's actually written in the standard. It seems like in this edition there's a particular emphasis on safety, and that's probably a bit more than previous versions as well. So what do you think at the moment are the particular challenges associated with safety for contractors?
RCDs has been they've actually taken the amount of electric shock and electrocution down dramatically, and it was seen as quite an important step to actually move into a mandatory RCD for everything for homes, and then in commercial everything up to and including 32 amp, with some provisos to that. There's some exceptions to that, that's been a big move. I think most of our focus has been on the importance of the equipment you use, the safety of that, the safety of the people around you, the safety of the end user has been pretty paramount in what we do.
As we eliminate a hazard, the ones that were minor become major. Historically it was appliances where the problems were electrocutions, and with the change from class 1 to class 2 appliances and the use of RCDs, that's all dropped. Now there's a big emphasis on earthing because you can have problems with earth currents around swimming pools, places like that. And then there's the issue of neutrals breaking, where you can get voltages from that, which weren't a focus at all in the past, but now they've become the issue.
True. It's allowed us to break down to further degree, I guess. We envisage the revision will be a change document in regard to earthing, only because there's lots of other things we've got to consider. I think another one about safety is working live. We've done a fair bit of work, and that does come back to regulation and how the legislation's written, but working live's a bit of a no-no. And obviously we understand there are times, but in the main, the document's about not working live.
In regards to working live, there's a lot of campaigns out there, and I know the regulators push it as well of don't work live. Why do you think contractors are still doing it?
For expediency. If you're in the shed down the back and doing a job and you've got to walk to the front of the house to switch the power off, I think I can get away with that. From an industrial sense, commercial, I don't know whether they would do that. They may be tempted, but the thing is they'd have so many procedures in place that they wouldn't do it. But I guess it's still a temptation.
Legislation, it's generally illegal everywhere to do it,
Yeah.
so they're breaking the law if they do that.
In the lead up to this video, SAI went out to their audience and they asked whether they were happy with the changes to safety in the wiring rules, and 72% said yes. What do you believe the key is that is actually making this successful?
I think the first thing is that we did actually go to the key stakeholders before it was published, so we got a fair good feel of what they felt. They had their ideas. Certainly we take safety very seriously, but we also want cold hard facts to back it up. So we had an instance where we wanted to make a change to something with RCDs. It wasn't really backed up with any cold hard fact, and we actually withdrew what we wanted to do. So when it comes to safety, we need evidence to actually do it, and that makes it a lot easier to put it into the marketplace, because you can actually cite examples why it's happened. And I think that's just been a thing that us guys as a committee try and think about all the time. Is there a real safety reason behind that, or are we just doing it for another reason? Usually it comes back to safety.
Is it a nice to have, and what's the impost on the industry if we make this change? And safety is always the first consideration.
So is there one particular change in the wiring rules in relation to safety that you're particularly proud of?
I think the RCDs, the application of RCDs across the board in housing, in residential, and also that move up to 32 amp for industrial or commercial. I think that's been a big one. That was the one that caused the most grief in discussions, was RCDs and how we should do that. We had quite a few different ideas moving forward, and we had to do a little bit of soul searching to actually get it all sorted out. So yeah, I think it's a great move.
Also, the introduction of new technology around arc fault detection devices is a significant change.
Yeah, we tried to be pretty forward thinking as much as you can when it takes 7 years to do a document, but the AFDDs, EV, DC circuit applications. The other one was the if there's disaster, risk management for disaster. So there was quite a lot that we put into it that is new, and it was a fairly great effort from the community.
So obviously there is a lot that's covered in safety in the wiring rules. Is there something that you think is missing, or what's your number one concern in relation to safety that you think could be developed further in future editions?
Yes, we've had some discussion about that through Amendment 1. Certainly there are things like power over Ethernet, at amperages that we would hold dear, not the very small amperages or ELV. I think there's a lot more to do with electric vehicles. I believe that DC installations, certainly overseas in Holland, they're doing a lot of work with DC villages, so they're all run by DC, no AC. So I think that's going to grow. I think arc fault detectors will take a little bit more massaging. So there's quite a lot to look forward to, or technology. I guess the other one is lighting. Lighting is going to change dramatically. Already it has. The amount of load for LED lights is dropped so much. It's crazy to apply some of the maximum demand stuff for lighting now based on LED lighting. So there's quite a few that are going to come up in the future, I think.
And I think there's a fairly controversial subject, which is that Australia uses a TNCS wiring system, and there is the aspect of missing neutral safety issues of that. There are alternative systems such as TT, but that requires protection by RCDs, and that needs to be addressed in a future edition of the wiring rules, because earthing's now become, where it was a very minor part of the problem, has now become a major one, because all the other faults or the risks have been eliminated through the methods of mainly RCDs, I suppose. Yeah. And an RCD can't protect you against a broken neutral.